Hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a shit one. When it comes to choosing your next lens, or maybe even your first prime lens, or maybe you're just looking for something with a little bit more compression, the 85mm f1.4 is the perfect choice. You get that nice compression, beautiful background separation, and low light performance that a zoom lens just can't achieve. But there's a few choices on the market, so today I wanted to specifically find out if there's actually a difference between the Sigma 85mm f1.4 DG-DN and the Sony 85mm f1.4 G Master Mark I. And what's funny, here in Australia, even though the G Master came out in 2016, it's still around $500 more expensive than the Sigma, which was released in 2020. So today I wanted to find out, is the Sony name really worth paying extra for? And yes, the 85 G Master Mark II does exist, but with a lens like that, it is double the price of the Sigma. And at that point, we're not really comparing realistic options. We're kind of just comparing who's got deeper pockets. This video is also meant for the people who are looking to maximize their setup with the best quality lenses and get the best bang for your buck. For our subject tonight, we have this beautiful purple BMW M2 CS, thanks to BMW Australia. And I won't actually be using my camera tonight, the A1 Mark II. Instead, we're gonna be shooting all the photos tonight on the old A7 III. And I can say old because that camera was released before I even started my YouTube channel. What's interesting about the A7 III is that Sony still sell this camera brand new from their website 8 years on. Like as if they know this camera has got to be one of the best value full frame cameras you can get your hands on. And I actually managed to find these cameras even cheaper secondhand, averaging around 1,200 Australian dollars. So I figured it's perfect for this test. A camera that doesn't have all the latest fancy AI autofocus, making this, in my opinion, a more fair test since both lenses should be working with the camera pretty equally. Unlike a lot of the newer Sony cameras that are coming out now that are purposely nerfing third-party lenses. All right, let's get into it. And then, yeah, stop it there. And you can take your foot off the brake, just click it into park. Oh, the shutter is so much more mechanical on this camera. Great. I'm just gonna slowly make my way over. So what I might get you to do, Chris, is hop into one lane over. So I'm gonna try and frame it in between both of these poles here.
Nice low shot here.
Just check that. Not as much inbuilt stabilization in this camera as well. Far out, I'm so spoiled. I mean, we're still working with a full frame camera here, so it's still such a good camera for what it is. Especially on the secondhand market, I think you can pick these up for as cheap as $1,200, which is a lot of money, yes, but for a full frame camera, still great. And the 85mm is killing it. Might come in here and get a bit of a detail shot. Focus struggling a little bit, but that's just because there's so many reflections going on here. Might get a more central shot here. Okay, great. Chris, do you want to drive up and do a U-turn? We're going to shoot some photos of the front. I'm probably shooting around like 1600 ISO, 1/50th of a second, f1.4. Okay, do you want to turn it on and come a little bit more forward? Just a touch.
A little bit more. Touch more. Yeah, a bit more.
Too much. Go back a bit. Yeah, perfect. Nailed it. Nice, I got it. It's actually a really nice shot in the light there. Okay, Chris, I just want you to drive, see if you can hit about 40. I just need you to drive around here. But if you can stay more towards the left gutter, not get too close to this right gutter, that'll be perfect. I'm gonna go to 1/25th, ISO 1000. And that was a first attempt at 1/25th, which is not that impossible to get a good panning shot. That one's pretty good. I definitely got a panning shot on the way back. I'm just trying to think if I swap to the 85mm Sony now, that's enough on this one lens. Okay, keep coming forward. Yeah, a bit more. Yeah, nice. Stop it there on the line. Well, that's actually really nice lighting. A nice detailed shot here. Oh, I love the shutter of this camera. Okay, do you want to go up and do a lap and come back and park up here? I'm gonna try one last panning shot when he comes back. Yeah, that was great. You can park up. Nice. Oh, that one's really nicely in. You can see Chris's schnoz. So first thoughts after shooting a few photos just now on the Sigma 85mm, it was jumping focus a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's actually the brain of the camera doing it. I guess we're gonna notice it a bit more potentially when we switch to the Sony G Master to see if there's any difference there. But I was noticing it was jumping focus a little bit just now, but also it's nighttime. A car is a massive mirror. There's a lot of reflections going off the car. So there's also a chance that it's just jumping focus, trying to find the right focus. But overall, it did a really good job. A lot of my photos are sharp in focus. If I just shot that now and had to go home and this was my setup, I'd be super happy with that. And remember, we have an old body here. This is no tracking mode, no AI autofocus, no AI bird and insect, car, plane, none of that. No stabilization. This is an old camera with old tech, or at least by today's standards it is. So I think this is really going to be a good comparison now when we put the G Master on to see if it is actually the difference we're looking for. Nice, we'll get the actual rear shot. Got a long exposure. What I noticed straight away with this lens, I took one photo as an example, but there is quite an obvious light streak. Maybe you'd probably fix that immediately with using a lens hood. Definitely from some of these bigger floodlights, I notice a quite obvious light flare that comes in off the side, which the Sigma lens definitely didn't do. So I'm not sure. Easy fix with a lens hood, but just something I noticed. Yeah, right there, perfect. It is quite annoying, it's flaring right now. Would make for an epic long exposure. This is my tripod. That is the truck you want for long exposures. Okay, bring it back into that lane where you were. There's a security guard lurking around. It's a public road though. And we're just waiting for an Uber, obviously. That's why we're here. Just finished a shift, mate. Working in the fucking bloody mines, mate. Catch my fucking Uber home. Nice, I'll get you to do another one on the way back. Oh. It is starting to rain. I hope it doesn't affect our test. Okay, one thing I should probably mention is that there's a lot of trucks that come through here. So we did have to move the car in and out of position a couple times. So some of the photos are not exactly the same. The angle might change slightly, but enough to still get an idea of which lens is sharper. Let's have a look at this detailed shot first. And I don't know, you tell me. On the left, we have the Sigma, and on the right, we have the G Master. And straight away, even if you just look at the badge here, you look at the brake caliper, even just some of the textures on the disc here as well, it looks like a pretty clear win for the Sigma. I think the textures is like the biggest giveaway, even if we zoom in 400%, which no one would do, but yeah, it's definitely a clear win to the Sigma. I did get a little bit of flaring here on the G Master. We tried to clean the lens and then shoot it again, but we still were getting a little bit of flaring from the light. There is a lot of dust around this area as well because of all the trucks and the industrial area and stuff. So we thought it might have come down to the coating on the lens, and maybe it's just not as good as the Sigma. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but that's what we thought. Or it's just how the lens sort of refracts and takes in the light, which probably could be avoided with using a lens hood. But yeah, I did notice a little bit of flaring coming off the G Master as well, which the Sigma is not doing here. So when the subject's a little bit further out from the frame, pretty hard to tell the difference here, honestly. Even if we look on the number plate and we try to read the writing here, maybe down to the exhaust tips, I would say the Sigma probably just wins. Even coming over here to the wheel, like seeing the writing on the tire here. But then again, on the left side of the car, the G Master also looks pretty sharp here. I don't know, I would say this is a pretty even draw. We turn the car around, and again, if we look at a pretty similar shot here, on the left, we've got the Sigma, the right, we've got the G Master. They both look pretty much the same here. I would say maybe even in the darker, more contrasty parts as well, the Sigma probably just takes the cake. But still really impressive to see that the Sigma is holding its weight up against the G Master, if not being even a little bit sharper at a closer distance. This is more of an autofocus test more than it really is about sharpness and quality, because with a panning shot, you're always going to get a little bit of blur, and maybe it's not going to be perfectly sharp unless you're really lucky, but you're not always going to nail the pan, and every panning shot is always going to be slightly different. So I tried my best here to shoot a panning shot roughly in the same spot, and I think I actually did a pretty good job, to be fair. And the A7 III also just quietly did an incredible job here. If you covered up the lens and then swapped them without me seeing, maybe apart from a slight weight difference in my hands, is probably the only way I would have been able to tell. If there were to be any issues, most of the bottlenecking would probably just come down to the camera I'm using, which is exactly why we wanted to use it, because we wanted to force the lenses to do most of the work here. I probably can't say the same if I was to put it on a later model Sony A7 C2, A7 V, A7R4, A1 Mark II. But for the older setup using the A7 III, pretty much exactly the same. I can't tell the difference. And before we continue on with the video, I actually wanted to let you know that we gave away the Sigma 85mm inside of our Discord to our first place photo comp winner. Every single month inside the Discord, we run a photo competition with prizes from first place all the way up till 10th place. We also run live streaming workshops, feedback sessions. We get other creators on to share their tips and tricks of the industry. It's a really cool place. It's a lot of fun. You get feedback from like-minded people. If you're in the Discord, you're a member, and as a member, you get entered into all of our monthly giveaways that we do as well. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll leave it linked in my description. Surprisingly enough, the Sigma 85 does outperform the G Master, at least slightly. Most of the photos came out sharper. The autofocus still performed amazingly, especially on an older body. The Sigma is also lighter, making it a little bit easier to carry around all day, and most importantly, cheaper. So to the Sony purists, I'm sorry, it looks like you lost this one. And before you say the micro contrasting and the highlight bloom is slightly better, it's like, okay, I personally would rather have a sharper photo than a softer photo from the get-go. And also, there's a thing called editing, where you can do all that stuff in post. Personally, I'd rather start with a sharper photo and then bring textures and clarity out of it, rather than having to do it the other way around. So the Sigma performs insanely well, especially for the money. Honestly, we're in such an amazing era for cameras right now. Even older cameras like the A7 III still produce incredible photos. And the autofocus as well still worked great, even though we shot at night, especially compared to what we had 15 years ago. Now, modern third-party lenses are no longer a cheap compromise. So if you're someone building their first setup, or you want to look at getting some secondhand equipment, or you don't want to financially sodomize yourself, lenses like the Sigma 85mm make way more sense long term. And also at the end of the day, I know we only compared the Sigma and the Sony 85, but there's also heaps of other options out there on the market that are probably even cheaper and just as good. It doesn't matter what it says on the front of the lens, whether it says G Master or Sigma or whatever. It pretty much just comes down to if your photos look good or not.